the same tea hour, and every retired general going to exactly the same even song at the same gray stone church with a square tower, and every golfing prig in Harris tweed saying, "Right you are," to every other prosperous ass. Yet I love England. And for standardization, look at the sidewalk cafes in France and the love-making in Italy. Standardization is excellent per se. When I buy an Ingersoll watch or a Ford, I get a better tool for less money, and I know precisely what I'm getting, and that leaves me more time and energy to be individual in. And I remember once in London I saw a picture of an American suburb in a toothpaste ad on the back of the Saturday Evening Post, an elm-lined snowy street of these new houses, Georgian some of them, or with low raking roofs, the kind of street you'd find here in Zenith, say in Floral Heights, open trees, grass, and I was homesick. There's no other country in the world that has such pleasant homes, and I don't care if they are standardized. It's a corking standard. No, what I fight in Zenith is standardization of thought, and of course the traditions of competition. The real villains of the piece are the clean, kind, industrious family men who use every known brand of trickery and cruelty to ensure the prosperity of their cubs. The worst thing about these fellows is that they're so good, and their work, at least, so intelligent. You can't hate them properly, and yet their standardized minds are the enemy. Then this boasting sneakingly, I have a notion that Zenith is a better place to live in than Manchester or Glasgow or Lyons or Berlin or Turin. It is not, and I have lived in most of them, demurred Dr. Yavitch. Well, matter of taste. Personally, I prefer a city with a future so unknown that it excites my imagination. But what I particularly want— "You," said Dr. Yavitch, "are a middle-road liberal, and you haven't the slightest idea of what you want. I, being a revolutionist, know exactly what I want, and what I want now is a drink." 6. At that moment in Zenith, Jake Offutt, the politician, and Henry T. Thompson were in conference. Offutt suggested, "The thing to do is get your fool son-in-law Babbitt to put it over. He's one of those patriotic guys. When he grabs a piece of property for the gang, he makes it look like we were dying of love for the dear peepul. And I do love to buy respectability. Reasonable. Wonder how long we can keep it up, Hank? We're safe as long as the good little boys like Georgie Babbitt and all the nice respectable labor leaders think you and me are rugged patriots. There's swell picking for an honest politician here, Hank. A whole city working to provide cigars and fried chickens and dried martinis for us, and rallying to our banner with indignation, oh, fierce indignation, whenever some squealer like this fellow Seneca Doane comes along. Honest, Hank, a smart codger like me ought to be ashamed of himself if he didn't milk cattle like them when they come around mooing for it. But the Traction Gang can't get away with grand larceny like it used to. I wonder when, Hank. I wish we could fix some way to run this fellow Seneca Doane out of town. It's him or us." At that moment in Zenith, 340 or 50,000 ordinary people were asleep, a vast unpenetrated shadow. In the slum beyond the railroad track, a young man who for 6 months had sought work turned on the gas and killed himself and his wife. At that moment Lloyd Mallam, the poet, owner of the Haffett's bookshop, was finishing a rondeau to show how diverting was life amid the feuds of medieval Florence, but how dull it was in so obvious a place as Zenith. And at that moment George F. Babbitt turned ponderously in bed, the last turn, signifying that he'd had enough of this worried business of falling asleep, and was about it in earnest. Instantly he was in the magic dream. He was somewhere among unknown people who laughed at him. He slipped away, ran down the paths of a midnight garden, and at the gate the fairy child was waiting. Her dear and tranquil hand caressed his cheek. He was gallant and wise and well beloved. Warm ivory were her arms, and beyond perilous moors the brave sea glittered. End of chapter 7.